Hey everyone, welcome back. This week, I wanted to talk to you about clear communication. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I've been undergoing a massive declutter of my flat. I'm moving out. And it struck to me that while I'm decluttering my flat, I'm also kind of decluttering parts of my past. So let me take you back to a few years ago. I was very anxious on how to communicate with others. In fact, I was left often confused and conflicted because when I used to speak my mind, I would find myself in these arguments or these debates and often felt unheard, like no one could really understand me. And if I go back deeper and dig a little deeper in my past, it's always been the case where people would always make me feel like I have to doubt my opinion or if I had a point of view. And so I find myself in this continuous cycle of having to choose between what people expect me to say and truly what I feel inside. So I've been on this journey for quite a while, observing myself because I thought, well, if I can't seem to get this narrative right, and I'm always finding myself being either criticized or rejected, I want to look deep inside myself, which is why I was traveling for such a long time. And while I was decluttering my room, I came across my journals that I've been writing for the past 3 years, and there are about 10 of them. And I was like, wow. And there's this other journal that I had to write every night a short summary of the day for 5 years. Looking back at it, it was interesting because I could see two things about me. One was my enthusiasm to have reached a new city and trying to make a go at it. I had joined Toastmasters, hoping my communications would get better. And on the other hand, I also saw how I was diminishing a lot of my creativity and struggling to remain being myself in different environments. Only this time, what I wanted to say, I found myself curbing it and being very careful how to speak. As I was looking at it, it made me very clear in some ways that I have come a long way because I speak on stages, I communicate with others, I published a book. And a few months ago, I sat down with a group of individuals and had them ask questions. And when the questions had happened, I noticed that I was sharing my points of view with a different way of phrasing it, with a different tone of voice. And I noticed that I was really breaking up with the part of me that was trying to protect me all this time, every time I had a point of view. What do I mean by that? Is I don't know if you have this, but sometimes when you have a point of view and you express it, that you find yourself sometimes over justifying why you have this point of view. It's not so much as having a conversation about it, but you feel quite defensive for having that point of view. As I declutter, I noticed that it is important to declutter your communication as well as decluttering your relationships. And I spent time in this last week reflecting on it because another incident had happened, which was a month ago. A friend who meant really well, she always means really well, was projecting her judgments. She's very harsh on herself, but because she had seen me being in my frustration, she wanted to really want me to talk to her about it. But I didn't feel that she was the right person to speak about what was on my mind at the time. And she had reacted, and the way she reacted had me thinking that we don't always have to have other people's advice on how to run our lives. Sometimes it's really good to sit back and reflect within yourself what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. And that for me is necessary. I've come over the years of understanding and overcoming this fear of having a different point of view and wanting to find my confidence to express it without feeling confrontational. that it takes a lot of presence inside of you to step back and not be so reactive. And if I take a bigger perspective and I listen to a lot of conversations around me, especially around multicultural situations or intersectional situations, whichever way you want to frame it or call it, every individual has their uniqueness and wants to be seen, heard, and valued. We all want that. But sometimes we are speaking to one another with so much defensiveness and so much protecting ourselves that we're really no longer aware of what is truly authentic and not authentic in a conversation. And that's why it takes a lot of sitting deep within yourself, quieting yourself to observe how you're speaking with yourself. And that really helped me. So while I've been decluttering this week, I noticed that it's great that to look back in order to see how can I move forward. And also some relationships do come to a crossroad and you have to go one direction, the other person has to go to another direction. All in all, when you come to clear communication, especially in today's very busy, noisy world, it's about stepping back and taking stock of yourself. And by spending time alone with yourself, it's not to fix yourself. In fact, when you step back to notice, it's taking time to introspect on how you are treating yourself. And for me, that has been fundamentally the biggest thing to understand is how do I treat myself with loving kindness and not be overly positive and overly fluffy about it, but very matter of fact about it. And that takes introspection. And I feel that this day and age, we could really work with ourselves to slow down, stop telling the world we're busy and we're overwhelmed, and look at the reasons behind our complaints and really slow down to not get too caught up in it and give ourselves some breathing space on it so that we can declutter to find the clarity in our communication. So that is my thought. And this month, I am going to focus on strategic relationships, how to build relationships in a loving, kind way. And what does that really mean, loving kindness? Without, and if you know me, I don't like all fluffy stuff. And also, I'm excited to introduce to you two amazing guests on my podcast who are going to talk about entrepreneurship and leadership. And I really found myself getting lost with time. So I'm going to try and split these episodes up into smaller bits and digestibles so that it will give you some time to go on your walk and also take that time to introspect and reflect on your relationships in your life. I look forward to sharing all of this month with you. And always do reach out if you have a thought on your mind, you have a suggestion, always open, and do share, follow, subscribe, whichever channel you're on. Take care. Till next week.